Okay, Mr. May, have you had time now to consult with your lawyer?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you want to proceed with this?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so where we left off was I asked you, has anyone made any promises to get you to plead guilty?
No, ma'am.
Has anyone used any threats or other kinds of pressure?
No, ma'am.
Are you pleading guilty because you believe you are in violation of the terms and conditions of your probation?
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me what you did that would make you in violation.
After we talked last time in October, I told you that I was going to get a job. I got that job. I got my first check. I paid the $500, and I worked for 6 weeks without pay, and I couldn't pay November and December, but I did make a payment in January, and I do plan on making a payment tomorrow for February, and I do have jobs lined up at diners. At a diner today, I went and got my second interview to be a short order cook. Just make it a long story short, I'm sorry, and I just would like a continuance for this.
All right, but you acknowledge that you did not pay the $500 a month that we agreed upon back in October.
No, I didn't know it was. I didn't think it was $500. What me and the probation office here have is $100 a week. We came up with the $100 a week or $400 a month was the original agreement. I was just paying a little extra in October.
I have written down from when I saw you in October, Mr. May, that we agreed that you could pay $500 a month.
Oh, then I misunderstood. Okay,
Okay.
then yes, I misunderstood that.
The court finds the plea is understandingly, voluntarily, and knowingly made. It is supported by the testimony. The plea of guilty is accepted. Mr. May is found guilty of probation violation. And I know Ms. Gray wants to speak, but first I go to the agent. Agent Flynn, do you have a recommendation?
Thank you, Your Honor. So just to sum up so far, Mr. May has made 3 payments in the last 14 months. He's made a $400 payment in 2019, the $500 payment in October of 2020, the last time we saw you, Your Honor. There was a payment made on 2/4 of 21 for $400, and then there was a $1,200 stimulus that was seized by the friend of the court that was in last year in May. It's extremely difficult for me to really enforce and supervise with him being in North Dakota, although these are the problems we're dealing with, Your Honor. I'm having a hard time communicating with North Dakota as well, as I believe is Mr. May is having a hard time keeping in contact with his agent there as well. I'm not sure what their status is as far as probation goes in North Dakota, but with all that being said, I don't necessarily think that jail does any good because we're not going to get any money from him there. However, we do need him to start making payments. The victim is entitled to this money, and therefore I would ask that the probationer be required to pay $1,000 and be given 45 days to make that payment, and have a 30-day jail sentence held in abeyance if he does not make that payment, Your Honor.
All right, and then I'll hear from the Assistant AG, if Ms. Brenner, if you wish to be heard before I go to Ms. Gray.
Your Honor, I'd like to have Ms. Gray speak, and then I would like to be the conclusion if possible.
No problem. I didn't have a preference for the order. So Ms. Gray, I will have you go next.
Good afternoon. Thank you for allowing me to attend this court proceeding. We met months ago. It's been over 18 months since Mr. May was sentenced to a 60 months maximum probation for failure to pay. Mr. May's failure to pay is what brought us to this point, Judge. Mr. May has the ability to make these payments, and he hasn't even been making a very good effort to do so. I feel that continuing with probation isn't really going to fix the issue at hand, which is the fact that he isn't paying. When I agreed initially in court for Mr. May to go out to North Dakota under supervision, the biggest stipulation that I had was the fact that I felt it necessary for Mr. May to be drug tested regularly, because that's where his money goes. I don't think that that's been happening. And so I'm going to ask the court to revoke probation.
Okay, and now Ms. Brenner, did you wish to be heard?
Yes, Your Honor. We are talking about over $110,000 arrearage on this case. The defendant has a lackluster history with regards to supporting his children in this case, as obvious by the $110,000 that he owes. He has full of excuses and lacks effort. I would request a 2-year period of incarceration with MDOC and a discharge of probation unsuccessful.
All right, and I'll hear from you, Mr. Austin.
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. I'm more inclined here to go along with Agent Flynn's recommendation, as I think it's more reasonable and more appropriate given the circumstances, Your Honor. I don't see that Mr. May has any issue with drugs. I don't think that's an issue here. It's not a matter of Mr. May just flat out not doing anything. I think he's trying. I think he acknowledges that he could perhaps try harder or do things differently. But I think he's balancing taking care of the things in his life, his family out in North Dakota, where he has resided and lived now for quite a period of time, as well as the public health crisis we're facing. He did make a payment the last time that we were in court. He acknowledges he missed a couple months there in November and December. He's recently made a payment, and he believes that he's going to make a payment tomorrow. And that's really the key, I believe, Your Honor, in this type of case. 2 years of incarceration isn't going to accomplish that. I don't think that that's going to be the best use of our resources here. I would ask for probably a lower lump sum payment than what Agent Flynn suggested of $1,000. But I think if the court would impose something like that and perhaps a suspended jail sentence upon noncompliance, I think that would be a more appropriate resolution. I would ask the court to continue Mr. May with probation. I know his plans are to get back on track here so he can start making payments again regularly and keep making them regularly. And I think he's going to do the best he can with that. Again, I just think long-term incarceration is counter intuitive to that, Your Honor. And obviously, if there is some form of incarceration that is imposed, as Agent Flynn suggested, if that could, if that's something that he could serve there in North Dakota, I know Mr. May would appreciate that. But I am asking the court to give him another opportunity and to continue him on probation. Thank you.
All right, thank you. And now, Mr. May, is there anything else you wanted to say?
Your Honor, I do plan on paying my child support. I do know that I do owe Miss Gray money. I have acknowledged that due to the pandemic out here and everything else that's going on, that it is kind of hard for a guy to try to find a job. I have put multiple applications in, and I have had returns, and I am going to make a payment tomorrow morning. You can check that out. I will make another $400 payment or $500 payment, and I will keep my payments regularly for the next 4 years.
You're going to pay $500 a month for the next 4 years?
Okay, so my probation officer and I came up with $400 a month. Because when I do get a job, I'm only going to be making $10 an hour. But yes, fine. Yes, I will make $500 a month.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Well, I am not willing to simply revoke probation. I think that I understand Ms. Gray's frustration, and it seems like maybe loss of any hope that she'll see this money, but I feel like I have sanctions that I can hold over Mr. May, and I at least have a better chance of getting some of his child support out of him than we would if he were just off on his own. So I have to strike that as an option. I don't see MDOC as an option for failure to pay child support in this day and age. That's just not realistic. I think that the reasonable recommendation is the one coming from the agent, and I have to say, Mr. May, I'm not inviting comment. I'm just saying this because it's on my mind and I'm going to say it. I can feel when I'm being manipulated, and you are a manipulator. I will not be manipulated. Maybe it works on other people. It will not work on me. So I'm not going to engage in these little back and forth. I didn't know. Oh, really? I didn't understand. I don't remember that. I'm not going to do that. I know that we agreed on $500 a month. I know we did. I have it in my notes. It's on the record. I will continue you on probation. You have to pay $1,000 within 45 days. If you do not pay $1,000 within 45 days towards your child support, then you need to make arrangements to get back here to Ingham County and report to the Ingham County Jail to serve a 30-day sentence in the Ingham County Jail. Your probation is continued, and we'll go forward with payments of $400 a month. And all other terms and conditions of probation will remain in effect. Mr. May, you have the right to file an application for leave to appeal your conviction and your sentence in this matter. You're entitled to an attorney at public expense to assist you in doing that. If you're making a request for one, you have to make it within 42 days of today's date. There is a form you use to do that. We'll send it to you. You should just know that the 42 days starts running from today. Do you have any questions before we end this?
Just one question. Do I pay the $1,000 and the monthly payments?
Yes.
That was my question as well, Judge.
Because I don't think I can come up with
That's a fair question. I'm ordering you to pay the $1,000 within 45 days, and after you pay that, after the 45 days are up, resume paying $400 a month.
Thank you, ma'am.
All right?
Thank you.
That will conclude our